Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to the British Content Channel. Today we are doing how to farm every single resource in Warframe. This is part 1 of the series. Part 2 is going to include all of the open world areas like fishing and mining and so on. But today we're looking at the star chart related stuff. So remember, if you like it, like, sub, comment, share for the algorithm, help me get ad revenue, and let's get into it. Right, so this video is going to be set up into around like 4 parts. We've got the common resources, uncommon resources, rare resources, and then like builds. So we're going to start off with the build section. So first of all, for a farming squad, there's 2 types of farms you can do. You can either do fast box breaking farms, or you can do long survival style farming. So let's start off with the team. For a survival style team, you want a Khora, a Nekros, a Nova, and a Wisp. Khora is your main DPS. She does most of the killing, and she also has an augment mod that drops extra loot in her dome, which we'll look at in a second. Nekros, his third ability, when paired with the augment Despoil, basically gives you infinite extra loot. It takes health away from him to double the drop chances, so yeah, that's good. Nova speeds up the enemies, so more enemies get to Khora's dome, meaning you get more kills, which means more loot, obviously. And then Wisp is a flex slot. You don't have to run Wisp, but Wisp heals Nekros and she keeps the team kind of alive, and she can be used to support with buffs and stuff. So let's start with Khora. So the Khora build, I've took some stuff off so that you can look at your flex slots. So first of all, this slot here is a flex slot. We're mostly building for strength, as strength now affects Khora's Whip Claw. We're doing a decent bit of duration because we need the Strangle Dome to stay alive for long, obviously, and a little bit of range just so that you can cover a decent area. Pilfering Strangle Dome is where you get your extra loot from. Whip Claw gives us more damage so that we can do, obviously, killing better. Corrosive Projection can be swapped. You can use Steel Charge if you really need to. You can literally run anything. It's up to you. Now, this slot down here is a flex slot. You can either, I would suggest putting a survivability mod. So you might want Rolling Guard, you might want Catalyzing Shield, you might want Prime Redirection. It's up to you. If you're going to run Prime Redirection, you may want to do the shield gating tech with Arcane Aegis, but that's your call. For Arcanes, you can either run Arcane Energize, obviously, it's, energy, Arcane Fury, Molt Augmented for the extra strength, and so on. There's lots of options. If you want the most damage, Molt Augmented and Fury work very well. And then up here in this slot, you can either run something like Cunning Drift for extra range, or you can run Prime Sure-Footed, or Power Drift, whatever. It's up to you. For the Whip Claw build, there's 2 Whip Claw builds you can do. The first one is Melee Influence. We all know Melee Influence by now, so here it is. Melee Influence uses Elementalist to buff the electric procs. We have Voltaic Strike for status chance, Blood Rush, Weeping Wounds. You know it by now. The Bane mod obviously just swap out based on who you're fighting. Now, this build is very strong, but the main problem is you can kill enemies outside the dome. So this second build focuses specifically on slash rather than electric, and it has, the idea is you hit the enemies in the dome and only those enemies, and the slash procs insta-kill them. So we use Melee Duplicate for an extra hit, completely optional, does help though, and yeah, some slash mods. Another thing you might want to consider is using the weapon, the Mitre, with the Neutralizing Justice augment. The build on this weapon literally doesn't matter. This build is garbage. It's just Neutralizing Justice that really matters. It instantly kills nullifiers, which helps you farm. For a secondary, I just have the Furious, as it's very strong. Here's the build. It's just such a strong weapon. Or you can use something like this. Either way, doesn't matter. And then the Ceramic Dagger is just an optional extra. For your companion, I actually use the Chesser, I don't know how you say it, Kuro, as it has a mod that gives you more stuff. I don't know what it's called. Is it this? Yeah, this. It has additional chance to get loot from enemies, so some extra loot, and obviously resource or retriever. Archon shards are completely up to you, but I've gone with ability strength. And for some reason, I also have energy max because I just felt like it. I don't know. I don't know why it's there. Next is Nekros, incredibly low investment build. This is literally all you need. This is your necessary stuff. You have Despoil, so it consumes health instead of energy, and that goes with Desecrate. And then you have just max range. Now, there's two things you can kind of do to help make this build better. Either you can start to go into strength to armor strip like good enemies when they arrive, like Thrax units, for example, or you can put a helmet ability on here and go into that. So you might want to slot lots of duration. If you, for example, slot silence on here or raw, or you can just leave it as this and get health regen. So yeah, you might want health mods like Umbral Vitality. It's your call, but this is all you need. This is your baseline. For arcanes, I usually recommend stuff to do with max health. So I would go with like Reaper, Arcane Reaper, yeah. So if you get a melee kill, you start to regen. You can also go with like Grace as well. But the arcanes genuinely are like so not necessary. One thing you should slot if you have lots of space though is extra efficiency. Adding efficiency onto Nekros makes it so that it costs less health per kill, as you can see there. So if I get rid of this and slot this, there you go, 2.5 health per kill, which is a lot more manageable. However, if you are going to run a helmet ability, that will absolutely tank your duration. So, yeah. For weapons, it really doesn't matter on Nekros. I just have the Torrid and the Furious because you can't go wrong with them. And then for my pet, I use the Sahasa Kubro because I really like this dig perk. I think it's great for like giving your team energy. I really like that. And then obviously Resourceful Retriever, but you can also run the Chaser or Chesser, I don't know how you say it, but this guy, you can also run that as well. For Archon Shards, you might want to consider putting some blue health regens on your Nekros, making him very like self-sustaining, but those are like totally optional and very overkill. So for Nova, we basically just have a build that looks like this. It's, again, this is like the necessary stuff. What I have here is enough to get to 75% speed, because we're using it to speed the enemies up, obviously. You can completely tank the range if you want, because you don't really need it, but since I have Chroma's Elemental Ward here, I use it to buff the team, so I need a tiny bit of range. In the final slot, you can put Blind Rage, as that gives you like more buff percent based on whatever you use, and then like Prime Short-Footed or a duration mod or a range mod, something here. For your arcanes, again, completely optional, but Arcane Energize and the duration thingy, yeah. So yeah, your choice. For Archon Shards, I've gone with Parkour Velocity and Casting Speed. Parkour Velocity I have on here from when I used to do Disruption, but Casting Speed is kind of the nicer one of the two. I have the Torrid and the Oki Core, but you can really swap that out for the Furious or whatever. Again, your weapons don't really matter. And for the pet, I use the Sahasa Kubro for dig to get me energy all the time. And finally, my Wisp build is not very good, I cannot lie to you, but here is what I have. This is like, basically you want to crank strength to the max and a tiny bit of range and duration just so that your team can be in the flowers. Other than that, it doesn't really matter. I don't use Wisp at all, so this build sucks. If you want some extra strength, slot this Arcane after placing your flowers and you'll get lots of strength. So when we refer to a box breaking frame, we refer to like any frame that can essentially break boxes with their ability. Now, I use Gauss as my choice because his first ability, when you hit into a wall, it breaks boxes. I just go with like max range. I crank the range to the maximum. And this is mostly focused on Thermal Sunder, to be honest, but you can also use frames like Zaku with max range. His fourth ability will break stuff, and Limbo. His fourth ability will also break stuff. I'll show you how this works quickly. So when we refer to a box breaker, essentially if I press 1, every box in the vicinity completely explodes, and I can farm 1,000,000 resources in like half a second by doing that strategy. You just run through like fast missions. The Void is a very good example of this. Like you run through a fast mission, spamming this ability, and all the boxes in the range like break, and as a result you get like lots of argon, lots of, yeah, like this. As you can see, I'm farming lots of resources by doing it. And for some things, like for example, just small amounts of argon crystals, this is the best. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over some very good tile sets for all of the like most popular farming locations. So we're going to start off with by far the most popular, and we're going to go to Alara on Jupiter. So on Alara, you're looking for this spawn, and when you go up here, it should be a ramp. So what you want to do is place your dome in this middle section, because enemies spawn to the left in like this section and this room. They spawn over here in this room, and then they spawn right ahead. So if you were to start the thing, I'll just drop an energy pad for now. You'll notice the enemy spawn rate is really high when the enemies start to roll in. Here you go. So now with a speed nova, the enemies pretty much immediately run into the dome the moment they spawn. So you can pretty quickly build up combo. And as you can see now, lots of stuff gets dropped. So if I was to run through, and there you go, you get lots of items. So the next tile we're going to look at is Annie on the Void. So when you spawn in on Annie, you want this room. The reason we want this room is you can place your dome here in the middle. Now hopefully this is an open room, which it is, as you can tell by the yellow lights. So they spawn there. The enemies can also spawn over there. And obviously there is a spawn back here. So if you get the highest like spawn rate area, you can get like a lot of kills. Sometimes that door down there or that door down there are closed off, and that does affect the amount of loot you get. So now if I was to place my dome right here, I'll just drop a pad for now. You see like there's already tons of enemies, so I just build my combo. I don't have the correct Bane mod on for these guys right now, so I'm probably not going to do that much damage, but it's fine. And yeah, you just run around and grab the loot. And you get lots of ferrite. It's great. The next one we're going to be looking at is the Lure Survivals. Okay, so for this place, the Lure Survival, you have a couple of options. The first one is this room. You want like an empty room behind you, and then this to be yellow lights, which for me it is not, which is unfortunate. This to be yellow lights, and then this to be yellow lights. The reason you want all three of them open is because the spawn rate will just be way better. You place your dome sort of in this area, stand over here, and just whip. Now mine is going to be 2 out of 3 doors open, which is actually kind of sad, but the enemies are kind of spawning there, but not really. And you see they run straight into the dome. Now with a Nova, they will run a lot faster, and so as a result you get more kills. I'll just pepper these enemies quickly, build some combo up. Oh, I ran out of energy. Embarrassing. But yeah, I'm sure you get the point. And there you go. So if you have like all 3 of the sections open plus the full team, you're going to get a lot more stuff. Another popular node is going to be Acer on Uranus, or Uranus, however you want to say it. Now this is also the same as on Ceres, which is Gabby. They're both the exact same tile set. So I'll show it you on this place first. So this is a pretty good spawn, as long as this has the yellow lights, this has them, and this has them. You can kind of chill in this area so the enemies can't see you, and you put the dome over here, and it should grab all the enemies in theory. It's not the best in terms of like ease to use, but it gets the job done, and that's what matters. So as you can see, there's already a lot of enemies spawning in this area. So you can whip them through the door. I don't have the right Bane on because I keep switching them for this video, but yeah, you can start to see now I'm getting like a ton of polymer. So yeah, you just drop it in this area. And again, with a speed nova, like you're going to get an absolute ton of enemies running into the dome, especially because they're infested. What you need to be really careful of on these infested missions is the little drone geezers, the mutalist drones. If they dash into you, they'll like one tap you on steel path. So yeah, just be extra cautious of that happening. and you should be good to go. And then finally, for the popular nodes, we have this one. I don't actually know how you say this one. Bacinus or whatever on Saturn. Again, this is one of those dark sector infested missions. For the Saturn node, there is no good spawn, so you have to run around until you find a good room. This is a pretty fan favorite room, as you have a spawn over there on the right, you have a spawn up top, and then the left side. If you drop your dome on this staircase, you can get pretty much everybody. There's also this vent thing behind you, so just kind of chill next to it so they don't shoot you. And yeah, as you can see, they're running out of that room, they're running out of that room. When you're looking for a good room, you just want the most amount of doors around you that are all open, because I can get spawns there, and there, and as a result, I get fast loot pretty much. As you can see, if I run and grab all this stuff, I'm already on Aroken cells, I have nanospores, yeah, plastids out the wazoo, mate. So yeah, you just quickly smack the enemies and loot. Again, with a speed nova and stuff, this is much better, but as I'm just on my own, it's not as good. And then our final tile set is going to be on Deimos, and it's going to be Terrorum, however you say this one. So when you load in, the spawn you're looking for is this room. You may notice it's exactly the same as Annie on the Void. What you want is this door here to have yellow lights. Mine does not, so I would abort the mission in this situation. You also want yellow lights on that door, and then over there, which you can actually go through, you want yellow lights. Now, I would abort personally because there's no lights down there, but if I just start the thing, you'll see, if I go back here, you want to place your dome in this middle section. I'm getting spawns from down there anyway, which is kind of alright, I guess. But yeah, you can just now smack the enemies. Once again, I don't have the right Bane mod on, but yeah, it works good enough anyway. Okay, so now begins the time where I start listing off resources and the tiles for them. So alloy plate, you want to either go to Alara on Jupiter, or you want to go to Gabby on Ceres. Ferrite, you have your Lure Survival, make sure it's an Omni Fisher, or you have Annie on the Void. For nanospores, you have Terrorum on Deimos. You also have Saturn, Bacinas, or if you fancy a kind of interesting farm, you can do Oestrus on Eris. For salvage, you have Alara on Jupiter. For Entrati ovals, do Nex with a box breaker frame and just smash all the boxes. Now onto our uncommon resources. For circuits, do Gabby on Ceres. For cryotic, do an excavation fissure. Make sure it is a fissure, as the more relics you open, it will scale, and you will end up getting more cryotic per excavator. For hexanon, you have Alara on Jupiter. For necrocoils, do Nex on Deimos with a box breaker frame. For Oxium, do Io on Jupiter or Alara. Alara is the better of the two, but if you do Io, extract after 5 waves. For plastids, you have Acer on Uranus, or you have Ophelia, that works too, or you can do Piscinas on Saturn. For polymer bundle, you have Acer on Uranus, or you have Ophelia. For Rubedo, you can do the Lure Survival, make sure it's an Omni Fisher, or you can do Annie on the Void. For Stella, do Nex on Deimos with a box breaker frame. Make sure you find the Murmur sarcophaguses in those big open rooms, and you should get lots very quickly. You can also do the mirror defense, because every time you fill the glyph thing, you get 2 or 4 Stella, so it's not a bad shout. For Thraxplasm, you do Cascade Fissures, obviously, and for Void Gel Orbs, you can either do Cascade or you can do Halico Perimeter with a box breaker frame. Now onto our rare stuff. For Gallium, you want to do Acer on Uranus, or you can do Ophelia, both work. For Argon Crystals, you have Annie on the Void, or you can do any of the fast missions like Capture, Exterminate, with a box breaker frame, and just smash all the boxes if you only need a few. Control modules, again, Annie on the Void or a box breaker frame. Using someone like Gauss, you'll get a lot of control modules in these fast missions. For Morphics, you want to go to Mars, and you can either do, for a designated farm, you can do this Wahiba mission, or you can do Tiana Pass and farm citrine stuff at the same time as getting Morphics. I personally don't think Morphics are a rare resource, they're more like uncommon, so you will stock them up pretty quick. Neural sensors, do Alara on Jupiter. For Neurodes, do the Lure Survivals, make sure it's an Omnifisher. At pretty much 5 minutes, a batch of sentients will spawn in, and they have a very high chance of dropping Neurodes. So if you do that with a Fisher, you get literally tons of them. For lots of Aroken cells, you have a couple of choices. You can either do Saturn, this survival again, or you can do Deimos Terrorum. Or if you only need 1 or 2, if you're somewhat of a new player-ish, go for the Saturn boss. He drops 1 Aroken cell when you kill him very regularly. So if you only need a couple, you can do this. For Tellurium, you're going to Ophelia on Uranus, or you can do archery missions. I do Salacia on Neptune with the whatever it's called. I've actually forgotten the name of it. Elytron. Yeah, do it with Elytron and just blow the map up. And then finally, we have Encharty Langthorns, do Cascade Fishers, or do Halico Perimeter with a box breaking frame. You can also get it on the new Whispers in the Wall missions from the Grumbling things. Now, the 3 research-related things I'm going to put into one section. So, Detonite Ampules, you want to go to Ophelia on Uranus. But literally any planet that has these things, you'll get tons of them. For field run samples, you want to go to like V Prime on Venus. Just like it doesn't really matter where you go. You're going to get tons of them anyway. And then for mutagen masses, you want to go to Deimos. And your options are either Terror Room Survival if you're doing a long run, or you can do HIF for just a quick run. Now I'm going to quickly blitz through a bunch of random things that are in the game. So this cryotic alu thing that you need, I don't even know how you spell it, but it's like, this thing, cryptographic alu. Do Salacia on Neptune. For nav coordinates, do like Hepit or a fast mission on the Void with a box breaker frame. For good Granum crowns, do Hydra on Pluto. That's if you're trying to get Sisters of Parvos. However, literally like any fast mission on these Corpus planets will work. I always suggest Hydra as it drops a Granum crown, and you need a Granum crown to spawn in a sister, so it's kind of like a 1-for-1 trade. Just make sure you stay in the mission for 5 minutes. That way he's like guaranteed to spawn. Aya is his own resource, so I will include it. However, you want to do tier 5 Cetus bounties, and that will be its own video in itself, so don't stress about that. Ayatan stars, yes, they are a resource, so I'm including them. Do fast missions on the Void with a box breaker frame, and you will get lots of them. Endo, yeah, it's technically a resource as well. Steel Path, Sedna Arena with Khora and Nekros plus some other people. There's efficient farms on that, so yeah, I'll leave a link to their Discord in the description. However, you can also do railjack missions. I suggest the Veil Proxima, or you can do Zaraman bounties. The tier 5 Exterminate bounty is very good for Endo. Kavat genetic code, yeah, it's technically a resource, so we're including it. I would suggest doing Horrend on Deimos. If you take the weapon, the Ballistica Prime, this is very weird, that's not how you spell Ballistica. If you take the Ballistica Prime, when you kill an enemy with this weapon, they spawn back as a ghost, and you can actually scan the ghost of the Kavat. So you scan it, kill it with this weapon, scan it again, and you get double. So yeah. Luathrax Plasm, Lua Survival, obviously. Nitane Extract, you must get from your Nightwave shop, which is here. Cred Offerings, and then Nitane Extract. For Kuva, you want to do Arbitrations with the sort of meta setup, so I'll leave a link to that in the description. Basically, you get Vitus Essence, you go to a relay, and then you cash it in with the Arbiters of Hexus. Riven Slivers, literally any Steel Path Survival Fisher will grant you like a quadrillion of them. I have so many of them, I don't actually know what to do with them anymore. But yeah, there you go. The next thing is Somatic Fibers. I would get them from Liver Survival. Next is Vestigial Motes, Brutus on Uranus. And then finally, Void Traces, and you get them from Fast Fishers. So Crossfire Exterminate, Capture, and so on. Just the quick stuff. I don't recommend doing like Cascade or anything like that for Fishers, for Traces, sorry, because they're not that quick. And just like that, we have covered pretty much every star chart based resource in the game. I missed carbides and I missed cubic diodes because they're from railjack. I will cover the railjack stuff in another video and the open world stuff in another video. So if you like this, show me that this is a good idea. Drop a like, comment, sub, share for the algorithm. And yeah, have a good one.